Shalom, brothers and sisters. Greetings from the congregation of Israel. Thank you for joining us for the afternoon lesson. Brother Judah already explained or said the title of the lesson. You said
drink from the cup of the whore, yes.
Drinking from the cup of the whore.
Uh-huh.
And we'll start in Mark 12 and verse 28 with Christ reciting the Shema. And one of the scribes came, and having heard them reasoning together, and perceiving that he had answered them well, asked him, which is the first commandment of all? And Jesus answered him, the first of all the commandments is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. And the second is like, namely this, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading and hearing of his word. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for the introduction. And again, I suppose some of this is going to go into what we were just discussing. And to me, I would like to believe that it's helpful information. For some reason, I believe it's helpful information for me. It sort of I would argue, have brought my perspectives on the text that we're reading. Now, we have often heard about people drunk from the cup of the whore. And again, for years I was in the school of thought, and it was just pretty much reduced down to the participation in the pagan religions and Christmas, Easter, stuff like that. And those are the bells and whistles. And that goes along with the doctrine of that great whore being the Roman Catholic Church. Some people say that the whore was Jerusalem and things like that. But, there's arguments against that. When John seen a whore, like I have mentioned of in other teachings, those of you who read the Bible, when John seen that whore in a vision, and that whore rode upon a beast with 7 heads and 10 horns, he had argued that 5 of the heads of the beast have fallen already. He said 5 has fallen, 1 is, and another one is yet to come. You know what that teaches us? If 5 had fallen previous to John, then that means the beast was in existence, wasn't it? Previous to John. 1 of the heads was living while John was living. Okay, so that puts a time frame on the beast, doesn't it? That means that beast is as ancient, at least as ancient as John, or even older than John, because it had heads that fell before John. And then we have something else. The whore rode the back of the beast. The whore rode the back of the beast. So was the whore on the beast's back when the head was in existence that John seen? Right? He's seen them both. So that means the whore is pre-Roman Catholic Church. The whore is pre-America. You have all of these different teachings. But what we need to do here, what's very important, when I try to encourage people here, we must critically examine what we receive. And that takes time. Now, God willing, we're going to look and see what the whore is. I'm saying, no, that's not the Roman Catholic Church, and it's not Jerusalem either. As some argue, it's Jerusalem. And the preterists have arguments for that. And they rack a lot of people up with that. But when you critically look at it, the whore couldn't be Jerusalem. And they have their arguments, well, it was a whore, signifying that they broke a marriage covenant. And only Israel made a marriage covenant with God, so that whore only could be Israel. No, that's not true. If you read your Bible very carefully, there was another whore too of the Assyrian Empire. And we're going to read about it today. And they never had a blood covenant, because people make these associations. That's simply not the case. They're called a whore because of the apostate, because of their transgressions, because of their filth. They're not called a whore based upon the covenantal promises in which the preterists argue. But again, you have these arguments, and you can't You just can't hear it in part. So we will have people come to this school and they'll jump around at different schools. And we would tell them, I said, you probably need to make a choice, because if you try to rack in too much stuff and you're not grounded in it, it'll get you. You remember what happened with old girl, remember? Few of them. I mean, we literally had a few of them that you could say that they had nervous breakdown. In fact, she had a couple of them, didn't she? But she would try to go both. She would try to do both and try to make reconciliation. No, you can't do. We're not offended if you go sit up. You go sit over there. I'm not here to argue with people on that. Only thing I could do is present what I'm convinced of. That's it. And if anyone decides, you say go there, that's what you've been convinced of. But I haven't been convinced to go that route with you. So you take the route. Okay? And then that's just the way it goes. But you need to make a choice. Now, if you sit here, then we'll do our best to present our arguments. And once you understand our arguments, not just hear them, but once you understand the arguments, then you're able to go and look and compare. But if you don't even understand it, how can you make a proper assessment? You can't. So that's why, it'll get you. And so what we want to do, we want to look into the Bible, at least begin to understand this argument on why we're saying Revelation chapter 17 isn't talking about no Roman Catholic Church. It isn't even talking about a false religion in the sense of Western religion today. And I want to show you why we present this argument, whether people take it or leave it. Now, if we start in Revelation chapter 14, what we see in the text, we see one thing, we see two women that's brought up in the book of Revelation. One happened to be a whore and the other one happened to be what? One is a whore, what the other one? Virgin. So you got a whore and a virgin. These are the two women that you have in Revelation. Now, the virgin isn't a landmass. That virgin is who? New Jerusalem. That's who the virgin is, New Jerusalem. Well, why you say that, Brother Judah? Because that's what John said. He said, I'm coming to show you the Lamb's wife. New Jerusalem coming down. John told you that the virgin is New Jerusalem. What is New Jerusalem? Is it the geographical place? Is it a particular person? Or is it a social system? Social system. New Jerusalem is a social system. So maybe from just even analyzing that, then Babylon the Great will be a social system. Not a landmass, not a religion. In the sense of religion today. Now you got two over here. Now we go to Revelation chapter 14, starting at verse 6. Yeah. What do we have? Revelation 14, starting at verse 6.
And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth.
Now that's important. We're not going to get into it today. But see, this is important to understand the overall idea. Now, let me ask y'all a question. Where in the world ever in the gospel did you hear the Creator tell an angel to go spread the gospel? You say, we just read it right here. He said he had the everlasting gospel, didn't he? Now, the angel going around teaching people? Or the angel doing just like what the Bible revealed to us? He came and revealed the message to Peter, and then Peter was the mouthpiece. Exactly. You understand? So this angel with the everlasting gospel, guess how this everlasting gospel getting out? Through men. And then the next question, well, what exactly is the everlasting good news? The everlasting good news is the good news that you find in Genesis. Blessings on the nations, justice, judgment. I mean, the entire narrative from the very beginning to the accomplishing of the perfect society, which is New Jerusalem, It's the same narrative. From the corrupting of early society to the perfecting of society, finishing in New Jerusalem, and all liars and dogs and robbers and all who make it and live it after a lie, all the corrupt, will not be in this new society. This new society is a society of justice, because that's the only way God can dwell, because that's the habitation of his throne, is justice. So you're not, but if we're taught Revelation, look at everything literal. Okay, look, a man sitting on the clouds, the city really coming down out of the sky, or the mark of the beast is the name Jesus. And I've heard so much of this stuff over 20 years, and I'm not saying that I know it all, but when someone presents an argument, okay, let's see. And but even more so, what helps is, like our elder taught us, context. Understand the narrative, and then you can see if it fits. Context is so important. Like I was talking to some of the comrades today, going through a feed. I said, listen, if things are out of context, then Jesus of Nazareth, or Yeshua of Nazareth, you can understand why some will consider him a false Christ. Well, brother, why would you say that? Because if you're looking at Jesus of Nazareth in real time, he was stripped naked before the Roman military. Now, what does it mean when they come and strip you naked and bound you? That means you've been conquered. When they conquered Israel, they stripped their clothes off. That's why Isaiah had to walk around naked for 40 days or something like that, because this is how Israel going into captivity. So the idea of being naked and bound shows you've been conquered. Was Jesus of Nazareth naked and bound before the Romans? Then they mocked him too. Here, you a king. Here, take this plait of thorns. Here, take that. Then they laughed at him, spit on him. So to the Jews who's watching, our Messiah is supposed to come and destroy the Romans. This man called himself the Messiah. Look what his end was. You see how without critical analysis of the Bible, you can begin to understand why people will reject Jesus of Nazareth and say, let Barabbas go. At least Barabbas ready to stick a few people, but you have this man here, he's just walking into the execution. Context. Moses, yes, Israel passed from one dictatorship to another dictatorship. What do you mean, brother? Who else heard the voice of Elohim but Moses? Could you imagine this real time? Nobody hear no voice but Moses. That's why Cosby and them can argue. Well, listen, Moses, you brought us out here in this wilderness to rule over us as a dictator. So we done left the dictatorship of Egypt and we done went under the dictatorship of Moses. Nobody else heard a voice. You see how context is important. So Moses is a dictator. And then after the dictator, another dictator rose up, an ethnic cleanser, a mighty warrior named Joshua ben Nun. And what was Joshua to the Canaanites? Terror. A terror and a plunderer, a robber, a murderer of children and women, a destroyer of lives and a stealer of lands. Joshua the son of Nun? See, our perspective plays a big part in this, doesn't it? So context is important, and it takes time to analyze these things, a lot of time. And that's what we want to encourage people to do here. We take time, and people get mad at that. Well, they want to hurry up. They want to answer quick. Hurry up. We ain't got that, because we can't defraud people. When you walk away, we want you to know. And once you understand and know in different classes we doing, the people sit through these classes, take notes. I'm not offended, cat falls asleep, got to get a break. Hey, it's recorded, pick it up. Because at the end of the day, like Jafar, my teacher said, what he's trying to train up is men that can stand against anybody and able to go to the juggler if needs be. That's what he told me. Jafar said, go right for the juggler. Training you to resist any, and that's why the context is important. To understand what's going on is very important. So when you go out, you can represent, and your tongue sharp as a two-edged sword. You know what's happening for the most part. And if you don't know what's happening, then you know that's what the school is about. We come back, we get together, we do our research. Context is important. So now I'm presenting something to you, this gospel of the everlasting gospel. What is it? What is this everlasting gospel this angel went to bring out? That's why it's important to know the narrative of the entire Bible from Genesis to Revelation, the creating of a new society, or as we just finished explaining, a social revolution. That's what it is. And the nation's waiting for it. Now notice this. He went out with the everlasting gospel, and what did he do with this everlasting gospel, brother? Go ahead. Start from the top again, verse 6, please.
And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people.
That's why we arguing here. The everlasting gospel is a social revolution that is being preached to who? Everybody, every nation. So what we're talking about today, when we're talking about reparations, or when we're talking about justice to be done among all the oppressed people of the world, we're actually talking about a social revolution. This is the everlasting gospel. And just like Isaiah said when they praised God in Isaiah 26 and Isaiah 25, when they praised the Almighty, he said, because you take a mighty city and you bring it down low. You bring it down low. Bring it even to the dust, that the feet of the poor can tread over it. That's good news. This is the everlasting gospel. And it is to be spread through the nations, because this is how God will be glorified. When people can come to understand, he will be glorified through people. Then the beetle will do his work. Then the mosquito will do his work. Then the wind will do its work. And at the end of the day, if we do it right, just like he separated them in Goshen, I'm going to send a typhoon and I'm going to send a hurricane upon these coasts. But you know what? It won't touch you. The course I'm sending it on is going to be destructive in everything I put in its path. But if you do it right, if you do what's right, then just like that mighty wind opened up the Red Sea and them waters yielded to Moses, then God is teaching us, if we do what's right, and I'm arguing whether I'm right or wrong, participate in the Israel uprising. Man, it's yet to be seen. The light and glory of God that will shine upon the people. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. But we got to do this part first, or else we will remain in darkness and groping. Now, he said this everlasting gospel, to give and to teach every nation, kindred, tongue, and people. Saying what?
Saying with a loud voice.
Saying with a loud voice, proclaiming this social revolution now. Notice what this social revolution will collide against. Saying with a loud voice what?
Fear God.
Fear God.
And give glory to him.
Give glory to the Elohim.
For the hour of his judgment is come.
Yes, sir.
And worship him that made heaven and earth, and the sea and the fountains of waters.
That's right. Now serve the one that made everything. Now it's time to recreate a new social system of justice and peace, or that new Jerusalem now. And this new social system is in juxtaposition to something else. And notice what John will bring. Once everyone begin to hear this gospel, and all who will join on, and they begin to worship the God of heaven. And we know this worship of the God of heaven means to keep his laws. And his laws is what? Nothing but a legislation of social revolution, justice, and equity. When people get it in their mind, this is what we must fight for, then they have no choice but to run into a collision course with Babylon. And watch what's happening here. After he announced that gospel, verse 8 says what?
And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen.
You see how that works? Everlasting gospel going out. Men begin to understand about the justice and judgment of the throne of Elohim. Men will now allow their members, like Paul said, to be used as members. Use your members as members of justice. That compels you to resist the social orders in the world in that day. And guess who that social order is? Babylon. Babylon the Great. And what's happening to Babylon the Great as the kingdom of God or the Israel uprising is happening? Everlasting God. What's happening to Babylon? What do you say? Oh, she falling. You see how that works? She falling. That means the social system that once exists is losing momentum. It's collapsing. Go ahead, brother.
That great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
You mean these all nations that you're sent to teach? Remember now, all nations are drunk of the wine of her wrath, but now the everlasting gospel is you go into these nations. Once you change their mind, Babylon perish. Isn't that right? Babylon only stands because of men works, isn't it? Men works change, Babylon falls. Notice what the Revelator is teaching us. He said they made all nations drink of the what? The wine of her wrath, of her fornication. They've been intoxicated. And they got to sober up. Like Peter said, be ye sober. Go ahead and read it.
Verse 9.
Uh-huh.
And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation.
Yes.
And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb.
Oh, you're going to be, the cup of his wrath, you're going to drink it. You're going to drink it. Right? And now let's go to Revelation 17. In fact, before you go to Revelation 17, I want to flip-flop just a little bit. Go to Psalm 75. Oh, you're going to drink the cup of the wrath. And who are those who drink the cup and worship the image of the beast? They are all those who are contributors, beneficiaries, who aid and abet the Babylonian system. See, this is more than just stop celebrating Christmas. Tell people all the time, you sit up here and all your gospels or fires, your so-called gospels goes tell people stop celebrating Christmas, don't eat no pork. Well, what happens when you run into a Jehovah Witness who's a vegan? He don't celebrate Christmas or he don't eat no pig. What happens then? Oh, brother, well, you shouldn't keep Sunday. Okay, well, let's say he don't deal with no religion. It don't work, man. It just simply don't work, and the judge gonna look at you, get out of here. We have to operate on the platform of bringing the kingdom of God into reality. It can no longer, we have allowed it to be abstract. And that's why it's hard for people to believe it. But yet, we was at the table a couple of weeks ago, and they was having a rally for one of these politicians. Just so happened to have a rally that day, and a woman come over to the table, asked what this is about. And once you can address, they out there having a rally because they're looking for some sort of justice and relief. And the response of the woman, like something you just have to be the response where it was a sigh of relief. Because they say she heard people talk about the Bible and this and that. But when you're talking about the Bible, at the same time, you're addressing issues that they suffer. It just carry on a whole different meaning for people. And they'll walk away and say, that's interesting. I never heard it put that way. We got to do the will and learn what the gospel of the Almighty is, or else all of this other stuff, man, that's not it. That's it, because it's not the gospel. I'm just convinced of that right now, that what's people getting in the name of religion. And I told brothers and sisters online, I believe it was last night we talked about it. I wasn't going to watch this clip of TD Jakes. It's about a 20-minute clip. He was making a comment on Black Lives Matter. And I said, I'm not concerned with Black Lives Matter now. I just didn't want to be aggravated. So, but he just kept coming up in the feed. So, I clicked on it. I just said, well, let me just see what he got to say. And he actually says something that encouraged me. And it was this, his reasoning was this, is that you have a lot of people who believe in social justice who's Christians, but they're being disappointed as they search more in the Black Lives Matter movement because he said they're so liberal. They believe in same-sex marriages and everything else. They just deal in principles that we Christians don't want to deal in. He said, but what is needed is an alternative. That's what TD said. What's needed is an alternative. One who could talk about these principles that everyone is looking for pertaining to social justice, but they complement the Christian belief. And if people keep with sense, keep silent, and the only one who's talking is the one who have nonsense, then guess what will be heard? Nonsense. And I said, yeah, that's what is that teaching us? And it was just interesting because the guy who was interviewing TD Jakes said, we nominate you. We nominate you to do it. TD Jakes never responded. But when I heard it, what's the Most High saying? Man, the basic people know, man, teachers got to go out and we got to learn and be diligent. Why? Because the angel went forth with the everlasting gospel to all nations. Isn't that what it said? And once we understand that the angel ain't doing this outside of people, then we can begin to understand, you know what? We got a lot of stake in this here. We got a lot of stake in what's happening here. So now here in Psalm 75, right? Notice what's happening in Psalm 75. Start reading that verse 1 first, because we talk about drinking of this cup. Drinking of the cup. And that's the thing, man. People gonna have to study and learn. At one time, slave would break their back. Oh, that's a terrible analogy. But a slave would do all he can to learn. After he's been working in the fields, he's hustling, trying to get down to the schoolhouse to read. And you can barely get people to read today. The skill and the blessing to be able to read, people just don't want to take advantage of that blessing. But like old Elder Daniel said years ago, you think God wrote all this big book for us not to read it? You think God had this big book written for us not to read? All these prophets, men risking their life to write this stuff down, and then we have the audacity to not even read it. Yeah, people got new revelations now. Has it freed us? Has it brought the kingdom of God into realization? What fruits have it bear? You can tell a tree by its fruits. All of this religion, what have it brought forward? Everyone could say, well, it just done got worse. And the default mode is when Jesus comes, I can't wait till Jesus comes. You see the conundrum here? And what was Jesus saying? Didn't I tell you to do what I do? If you are my disciples, do what I do. Follow me. Do what I do. Then they're going to deliver you up too. Before the magistrates, before the kings and the rulers and the Gentiles. Is that happening? Probably because ain't nobody doing what he say do. You understand? It don't take much mathematics. You know what I'm saying? It's just that simple, just mathematics. So notice this, verse 1.
Unto thee, O God, do we give thanks. Unto thee do we give thanks.
Yes, sir.
For that thy name is near thy wondrous works declared. When I shall receive the congregation, I will judge uprightly.
When I receive the congregation, I will judge in justice. You got to look at the elements he's bringing to the table. Because I say there's one continual narrative. So now he's making himself, he's presenting to the reader his position. He stands for justice. What else he going to read in here?
3. The earth and all the inhabitants thereof are dissolved.
Yes.
I bear up the pillars of it. I said unto the fools, deal not foolishly.
I said unto the fools, that's why the earth dissolved, deal not foolishly. Who said unto the fools, deal not foolishly? The one who stands for justice. And what else?
And to the wicked, lift not up the horn.
Now, notice you got to understand now, when the psalmist is making reference to the wicked, he make reference, say it again, the power, the rulers. These are the mighty men and the strong and the uplifted men. Now, this is in reference to the ruler and his power. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Lift not up your horn on high.
That's right. Don't get exalted.
Speak not with a stiff neck.
Now, let me ask you, reading the book of Revelation, can we make this correlation? The nations who serve the beast, do you think that their horn was exalted? Do you think that they were foolish and carried on with a stiff neck and was proud, right? Now notice this. It's the same no matter what generation, no matter who it is. We follow the same pattern. Go ahead, read it.
6. For promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south.
That's right.
But God is the judge.
That's right.
He putteth down one and setteth up another.
So promotion not coming from the sons of men for one to be exalted. It's only coming from the almighty divine power who created everything. And what else about this? He said he bringeth some up and he brings others down. Now notice this.
8. For in the hand of the Lord there is a cup.
In the hand of the Lord there is a cup. Because remember in the book of Revelation, he talked about this cup. The wrath of the Almighty. So the psalmist making reference, he said, in the hand of the Elohim, there is a cup. And what about the cup?
And the wine is red.
And it's red now, intoxicating. Uh-huh.
It is full of mixture.
Yes, sir.
And he poureth out the same. But the dregs thereof, all the wicked of the earth shall wring them out.
You hear that? Who gonna consume this? Who gonna be intoxicated? See, so when you're looking at this intoxication, what the Creator said, I will send you a strong delusion that you will believe a lie. We can become entrapped in our own realities. And right now, this is one. The people are intoxicated. They do not believe they need to do anything. Satan got free run of the earth. Some believe they're going to float off in the sky. Some waiting for spaceships to come and all this other stuff. Some people, they got all of these other things on their mind. Jesus is going to come handle it. They will be raptured. They're going to be in a plane. One day they're going to disappear when Jesus comes. And everything you hear and everything you see. Now, when you look at the world around you, you think these mountains of brass cannot be moved, right? So you default back into what you've been taught. I can't do nothing, so therefore someone else got to do it. Because you've been intoxicated to believe you can't do it. And your environment have made this deception concrete. It's solidified. All what you believe now make perfect sense to you, even though it's deception. And that's what the Creator is explaining. I'll send them a strong delusion that they will believe a lie. And you say, well, brother, how do you know that you don't have a strong delusion? That is an excellent question. And the only way I can argue I don't believe that I'm in a strong delusion, and I only can say as a human being, is because of the text. So therefore, I'm going to present it. Now, when I'm presenting the text is all wrong, then guess what? I'm under a strong delusion. Make no mistake about it. But if the text confirm the argument, then just maybe that we are speaking according to the text. When the book say, if a man have a dream, let him tell his dream. But if he have the what? If he have the word of Yah, speak it faithfully. So I'm not a dreamer. I'm not going to tell you nothing. I can't tell you no fortunes. I don't know none of that. I'm not, these prophets and this and that, that's dangerous ground for me. People like to prophesy. They wrap a lot of people up with that. I ain't got that to offer you. Only thing I can do is sit up here and let's see what this saying. Far as I know that he confirmed these men to be his prophets. Everybody now is serving the prophet of God. You understand? Everybody. I'm a servant of God. I'm one of his prophets. And I think to myself, just like David said when David said, listen, you can have Saul's daughter. David said, look, you think it's a light thing to be the son of a king? Man, that's a big matter. And I say the same thing about the prophets of God. It's an honor, but at the same time, that's a big thing. And everyone just come and take the title. See up here, you're gonna run into the United States Armed Forces and all of a sudden just say I'm a colonel. That's what I am. I'm a 4-star general. So when we're looking at this, all I have to offer you. He called these men, and whatever he give, I ask to show me, because I want to know for me. You understand? It ain't about me doing this and us get round of applause. I'm trying to find out answers. And so therefore, what I have found, I'll share it. Okay? So what we have here, the people intoxicated. This red wine that the people receiving. He said, the wicked, man, they're going to drink the dregs of it. Totally intoxicated. So when you come with soundness, you look like you're insane. Walk up to a person now, the Bible say, listen, that the saints are going to overcome this world. They're going to overthrow the rich. How would they look at you? They're probably going to report you if they can, if you're too serious about it. And if your organization growing too much, you know, say, when it's about terrorism, you see them signs all over the place. You see terrorism. If you see something, say something. I see them different signs on the bus. If you see something, say something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're going to look at you like, yeah, okay, brother, all right. They might let you know everything is good too. Yeah, brother, man. All right, brother. You know, power to the people, brother. In the meantime, they're gonna be saying, "Listen, man, look, this isn't something wrong with it." Now, look, that's what they do to you, right? But the prophet said they'd do it. Now, look, finish reading that verse for me, please.
But the dregs thereof, all the wicked of the earth shall wring them out
and
drink them.
And they shall wring them out and drink them. Go ahead.
But I will declare forever.
I will. Notice what declare mean. What does declare mean? Remember the angel said he's going to come with the everlasting gospel. That means he had to declare something. But we know the angel wasn't doing anything. He's just opening up the mind and the consciousness of the willing vessels to declare a message. And you see the message he's declaring already. He already given us the heads up, the powers of the world and the mighty of the world. Those who exalt their horns, they shall be drunken with the wine of God. This is what he's declaring. Go ahead, brother.
I will sing praises to the God of Jacob. All the horns of the wicked also will I cut off.
Yes.
But the horns of righteousness shall be exalted.
Now, what do righteousness mean? Hebrew word for righteousness mean what?
Justice.
Justice. You see what he just said? All the horns of wickedness will be cut off, but the power of justice and all those who stand for justice shall remain. You know what that is? New Jerusalem. See, they're using different imagery, but this is exactly what he's describing, New Jerusalem. Or if you don't want to call it New Jerusalem, you know what else you can call it? The Temple of Yah. If you don't want to call it that, you can call it Abraham's kingdom. Many different names for the same, I say it's the same argument all through the book. The nation shall be drunken and broken, but those who stand for justice shall remain forever. And if justice shall be exalted, then where will the throne of God be? Right there in the midst. Right? Isn't that what the Bible teach? For that is the habitation of his throne, justice and judgment. So people talking about this is where God's feet gonna be. You think God got 10 toes? Well, the book said that God got feet. I said the book said that God got wings too. How about them horns coming out of his hand that Habakkuk talked about? He got horns coming out of his hand. So God can come down with wings, horns coming out of his hand. In fact, it said that he blew smoke out of his nostrils. How'd that look? Oh, brother, you see what I'm saying? So what we got to do, we got to critically read the text. We're talking imagery here. So we're looking at here, where God said, this is the place of my throne and the soles of my feet. You know what he make a reference to the human being? Where are you where your soles of your feet are? Are you ever any place where your soles of your feet not? So you see what God's saying. This is my habitation. This is where I'm dwelling. This is where I'm making my abode. That's what he's talking about. Now, when we look at this here, this is the cup they're going to drink from. Let's go back to this Revelation 17. We're not going through a whole lot of text today, but I just want to try to make a point here. They're going to drink of the cup. Now, let's see what is the cup then? What's going to intoxicate the nations? The same thing will intoxicate people right now. Do MTV Cribs still come on?
No.
Okay. What they got now? What they got going on now?
They got HGTV.
You know, I could probably tell you about Sanford or something, but I can't tell you too much about it.
I hear you.
MTV. But you don't understand. They got some stuff going on now, and you can see how intoxicated they are. Didn't they have some about housewives or basketball players? And,
Yeah,
and stuff like that. You know, the rich people, how they live. You understand? They intoxicated. Now you sit up here and tell one of them, you go knock on one of their doors and say, listen here, man, the kingdom of God. As far as they're concerned, it has arrived. Right? They open up their mansion doors, they got their porch and driveway, the kingdom of God, it's here. You see, he done blessed me. No, we saying that the kingdom of God is saying that you got to turn all of this over, man. And this got to be redistributed among the poor folks. You know, them people that you thought you got away from, them people that you rose above, now you think you better than them because you was more competitive. You are a better person. Smarter, stronger, more intelligent, innovative. Yeah, all them people that you left behind in the hood that you said they would, because they like to bite, you know, they kind of hold you down. They do that in church too. You know, they get this little thing going on in church when they talk about sister such and such. And when people talking about you, you know, God is with you. They draw it back to that, like that person, you know, like they feel like they hated against. I'm hated. Well, yeah, man, all of that riches, all them people who you said hate you, you're going to have to take that money, man. All them riches, everything, you're going to have to turn them over, man, to the people now. You know that happened in 1917. Happened to a black woman, too. She was mad about it. She inherited all of this money from the Tsar in Russia. She's a black woman. And the Bolsheviks came along and broke up, divided up her mansion and housed people. And she was so mad at the damn Tsar, she couldn't say nothing good. I mean, she was so mad at the Bolsheviks, couldn't say nothing good about them. You know where I learned that from? When Langston Hughes went on the tour, see, he was given record. He went over there to do some entertainment, but went over there, he seen what was happening. And what he seen was amazing. It's a book called I Wonder as I Wander. It's amazing what he just, you know, it wasn't necessarily pro-USSR. He just saying what he seen when he took a tour there. They was invited to come over there to make a movie. They wanted to make a movie to show black people overthrowing their oppressors. They never made the movie, but he was able to take a tour throughout all over the place, all over Russia, the Asian, far eastern Russia. And he had some heck of reports. But he reported about that lady, too. She had to divide up that land. So you see what happens. You see what happens, right? How they going to look at you. Now, they're intoxicated, though. That intoxication to get you, doesn't it? I'm going to say one more thing before we move forward. You could get so intoxicated drinking out this cup that you could make $500,000 a year. And something happened where now you only making $100,000 a year and you so daggone intoxicated you would jump out the window. You jump out the damn window. That's drunk, ain't it? You messed up. You done took your life. And I ain't say you making 500 to zero. I'm talking about you just went down to 100,000. No, I can't. Life not worth living no more. Intoxicated. Intoxicated. Now look what this intoxication. Let's examine this before we close. This intoxication. Revelation 17. Let's start reading at verse 1.
And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither. I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
The judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. And she's sitting upon many waters, but she's also sitting upon the beast. The great whore. And notice this great whore. Notice what happens.
2. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication.
They committed fornication.
And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
See, they've been drinking out that cup. Go ahead. In fact, they've been intoxicated. Let's skip down to verse 4.
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls.
Everybody know what he described? Riches. In the Bible, what does scarlet represent? When they put on Christ a scarlet robe, didn't they? Representing what? Royalty. Kings of the earth, maybe? What else does she have on? Gold and purple. Purple and scarlet represents royalty. That represents the kings of the earth. And she got gold on too. Who makes the gold? Merchants. These are the 2 elements here that the book of Revelation chapter 17 and 18 is going to begin to expound on. The merchants who accumulate the gold, and they receive their pass by those who are decked in purple and scarlet. the kings, the rulers, the royalty. It's not talking about the Catholic Church. There was no Catholic Church. But there was a ruling aristocratic class, and there was a merchants who was accumulating riches. Now, what else happened? She was decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having what?
Having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication.
Filthiness of her fornication. Now, what exactly is she? Now, before you read that, read verse 5.
And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great.
That's one of your keys to unlocking this. Babylon the Great. Why John drawn from Babylon? It all ties together. Babylon the Great now, the mother of what?
The mother of harlots and abominations of the earth.
Babylon, this is the key. Now, what exactly is she though? Verse 18.
And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth.
I ask people over and over again, how does a city live? What does a city live off of? Anybody know what a city lives off of? You take this away from the city die.
Right, labor power.
Huh?
Labor power?
A little bit more than that. That's true. That's the beginnings. Commerce. City can't survive without commerce. All businesses close up and leave the city. What happens to the city?
Shuts down.
It dies. What we're reading about the kings and the merchants of the earth, what do merchants carry on with? Commerce. The kings allowed to happen. They passed laws and legislations for the merchants to carry on commerce. What does this build? A city. See, a city isn't necessarily a geographical place. A city is a place to do business. So before they built the city of Rome, if you read up the research of the city of Rome, it was just a place before it became a city, it was just a place of hills and nomads, or should I say villagers lived there. It did not become a city until they turned it into a place of trade and commerce. Thus was the city of Rome built. But this isn't talking about necessarily Rome. We're talking about a city. So if it's not restricted to a geographical place, what does it take for us? What does it take for the legislators to connect Amherst and Buffalo? Just pass a few laws. You can turn this to a larger city. You see how city don't really mean anything as far as geographics. It's just about how far you're going to extend your business and commerce and your municipalities. You understand? That's all. That's what the woman, she represents. She is the, what do you call it? She is the personification of a city. And all cities run and live off commerce. Now, she is a what kind of a city, though? Rich city. Rich city, isn't she? Now, what exactly is Babylon? Let's go, if you will, to Zechariah chapter 5. We just got a couple more because I started a little late. Now, he said, mystery, Babylon the Great. I want to put these little couple of keys together. We got about 4 or 5 texts. And look and see real quick. Babylon the Great. He gave us a clue. Babylon the Great whore. She rode upon a beast, but she sat upon the waters with nation, tongues, and multitudes. So that it showed you the depth of the city. The woman which thou sawest is the great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. You see how large the city is? All of the people join, all of the kings dressed in purple and scarlet, and the merchants have created a global city. City isn't restricted to geographics. This is about how far your commerce goes. Now, what is Babylon then? We see the spoils, though, of mercantilism, don't we? Gold, precious stones. Isn't this the spoils of mercantilism? All the merchants, that's what the merchants doing. That's what the businessmen doing. They got you digging in mines, going into the water to get pearls, digging in mines to get gold. You understand? It's all business. It's always been about business. And the Bible teaches you, if you want to know Babylon the Great and the great whore, we're about to find it right here in Zechariah chapter, at least what I argue, whether I'm right or wrong. Zechariah chapter 5. And let's start reading that verse 5.
Then the angel that talked with me went forth and said unto me, Lift up now thine eyes and see what is this that goeth forth.
I want you to look and pay attention to what's going forward, the Spirit said. Go ahead.
And I said, What is it?
Uh-huh.
And he said, This is an ephah that goeth forth.
Now, those of you who've been in different classes, y'all know what the ephah is, don't you? An ephah is a weight measure. So here in the biblical time, they said an ephah, what we would say today is a pound. It's just a weight measure. So what did he see? He said, what is this? He said, I see a measure, a weight measure. So he's seen some kind of a description, or should I say, something that objectified a measurement of weight, an ephah. Well, what do a weight measure have to do with anything? It got all to do with business, don't it? Who was the inventor, according to the Hebrew tradition? Who was the inventors of weights and measures? Cain. Josephus said he brought in that strange art. Business. So we see this weight measure. Ephah seen. What else did he see? He seen a measurement. What else?
He said, moreover, this is their resemblance to all the earth.
I will show you the resemblance of this weight measure. Where about? Not a part of the earth, not in just a little geographical place, but everywhere where the whore was. Over all earth. See, if the whore have anything to do with the weight measure, just as the whore is spread all over the earth, then the weight measure is all over the earth too. Isn't that what creates a city? Measures and weights and business. You see how that goes together? It's practical. You want to kill a whore, you kill a business. Go on strike. You strangle her. Now look, it says this. This is the resemblance. This is how it looks as it traveled throughout the earth. Go ahead and read.
7.
And
behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead.
Now, he's seen a weight measure, and then what else he see? Because this is the resemblance he's going to see. This weight measure, this is the resemblance of the weight measure throughout all of the earth. This weight measure, what does he see with the weight measure? A talent of lead? Well, what does lead do with a measurement? It falsifies the balances. So when we arguing, if you can buy a shirt for $5, you negotiated the man down from 10. And you said, listen, that shirt $5, man. It's only worth $5. I'm gonna buy this box of shirt $5 a piece. You negotiated it. Then you just confirmed that shirt was $5. And then when you take it back to the hood, how much you gonna sell it for? 10. How did it increase that value? Where did the extra $5 worth come from? Your lead.
This lead.
Your lead in that box. That's where it came from, your lead. That's funny. We got to understand, but we think that's normal business. That's what we've been taught. That's normal business. That's business, not personal. No, this is a wickedness that travels throughout all of the earth. The paychecks we receive, how is it that the boss can keep a part of it? He didn't put no work in, but he can keep a part of it. Oh, well, he provided me with the job. No, I provided him with the job. Because if I don't do the work, then he won't have a damn job. I did it. I'm out there do plumbing. like I tell people over and over again, tons of cast iron coming in, just dropped in the lot. And when I started studying Karl Marx, I said, you know what? I'm understanding what he's saying. That cast iron will rot in the rain if we don't take it and put it into a plumbing system. And if we don't take the cast iron and put it into the plumbing system, then he will not get his investment back. The money will be frozen right in the cast iron. So he needs the cast iron and turn into a plumbing system, and then the owners will pay him. That's how the money begin to circulate, or the wealth. Yeah, you see, that commodity gonna lose its value if I don't touch it. And if I don't touch it, if he don't put it in, guess what happened to his business? Goes right down. Ain't nobody gonna call him to do no more work. So who really provides the jobs? We gotta understand what we're dealing with. We've been cheated. And this is what we're looking at here. Babylon, the mystery of Babylon the Great. How did she get rich? What are the people being intoxicated from, drinking out this cup that they can carry on in all of these abominations without even blushing? So he said, I seen a weight measure. That's what else did he see, brother? Go ahead and read it for us. He said, I seen a weight measure, talent of lead.
And this is a woman.
And wait a minute. He's seen a weight measure for business. He done seen a talent of lead to signify a crooked business. And then who else he see? A woman Now let's see if this woman a virgin. What do you say about this woman? Go ahead.
And this is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephod.
The woman sit right in the midst of business. What do you think the great whore was sitting in the midst of? Business. She sit right in the midst of the trading and the buying and the selling. And what else he say about her?
And he said, this is wickedness.
She ain't no. She's not a virgin then. He said, this is wickedness. This woman, this talent of lead within the measurement, this is wickedness. This is profane. This is whoredom. This is the woman in the midst. Well, what's going to happen to this woman in this business? Go ahead and continue to read it for us.
And he cast it into the midst of the ephod.
He took the woman in the lead and threw it right in the measure. This is all objectifying now, showing what's happening. I'm going to take corruption and put it right in trade, because that's what the measure represents. You measure for trade. So I'm going to take the woman and I'm going to take this talent of lead, which shows an imbalance, and I'm going to put it right in the midst. And what's going to happen to it? Now he said, I'm going to throw it right in the midst of the ephod.
And he cast the weight of lead upon the mouth thereof. Then lifted up mine eyes and looked.
He lifted up his eyes, and then what did he see?
And behold, there came out two women. And the wind was in their wings.
Go ahead.
For they had wings like the wings of a stork.
Yes, sir.
And they lifted up the ephod between the earth and the heaven. Then said I to the angel that talked with me, whither do these bear the ephod?
Now what's in the ephod? The talent of lead in a woman. So in essence, he can ask, well, where are you taking this lead? Or he can ask, well, where is this woman going? Where's she going?
11. And he said unto me, to build it an house in the land of Shinar, and it shall be established and set there upon her own base.
You mean the woman and the talent of lead inside of the measure shall be established in the land of Shinar. Well, what's Shinar? Anybody know what Shinar is?
City.
And what exactly is that city? What's another name of it? Babylon. Babylon is the city that was founded in the land of Shinar. Where did the talent of, that's why when John said, this is mystery of Babylon the Great. If the woman in the talent of lead is inside of the measurement, is she exposed or is she hidden? Then that makes her a mystery, doesn't it? And through this mystery and through this corruption and through this crime, men gonna get rich and intoxicated until the everlasting gospel is preached to expose their crimes, to tear down their establishments and their institutions that was built off of this crime. That's when the everlasting gospel comes in. And when the everlasting gospel comes in to expose the crimes, what happened to Babylon? She falls. She falls. So I do not believe he's making reference to the Catholic Church. I believe we're talking about something a little bit more sinister. And when you even understand the Catholic Church was just a feudal business. Feudal lord. That's all he was. It still boiled down to business. Feudal lord who owned the land and the resources. The businessmen wanted to break away from the feudal lord. That's why they wanted to separate church and state. It's the businessmen who are fearful of losing their liberty and their freedom and their property. That's why they feed you this foolish dogma that the socialists and the capitalists or the communists want to take away your freedoms. No, the socialists and the communists don't want to take away the common man freedom. The socialists and the communists want to take away the freedom of the capitalists to oppress, to have free range, and to exploit and rob people without barriers. That's why they say leave the market alone. Don't touch it. And if anyone want to interfere in the market and try to bring regulations, they call them a socialist. They call them a communist. Oh, the state want to come in and bring us into a totalitarian. No. We just want to take your riches that you robbed. They're twisted. And they make people believe that the communists are coming and the socialists are coming to take away your freedoms. Like Karl Marx said, your freedom's already been taken. Your land been taken already. What the heck you talking about? Why you think the communists coming to take anything that you haven't got? That's what he said in the Communist Manifesto. We're trying to take away we're trying to seize again what's been stolen from you. But the rich man got away with his propaganda. He got a lot of money invested in his propaganda too. A lot of money. It's a lot at stake. Where did he take it to the land of Shinar? Set it up as a base. Now, what is Shinar? What is this land of Babylon? Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 17. What is it called? I know some of you familiar with it, but repetition, I want to go over this again. It's like the Trotsky Bolsheviks was arguing. They said once we present this new way of thinking, they didn't say new way of thinking, but once they present this, or they enlighten the so-called Negro, he said a shock gonna happen. He's gonna be in shock. But yet he will have a new perspective on things. But it's a shock. It's a culture shock to realize what we've been living in. And like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me it's like this? Go see for yourself. It's like, now go see for yourself. If you want to believe that the woman in the Revelation chapter 17 is the Roman Catholic Church, have at it. Have at it. I just don't believe it. And I'm just presenting to you why I don't believe it. And time will tell. So what we have here, Ezekiel chapter 17, starting at verse 1. So we have the woman, the ephah, and the town of Led was taken to where? Shinar. Shinar is the land of Babylon. Look up any dictionary, Bible dictionary. That's what Nimrod found it. In the land of Shinar. Babel, Akkad. Now look, verse 1, go ahead.
And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, put forth a riddle, and speak a parable unto the house of Israel, and say, Thus saith the Lord God, a great eagle with great wings, long wings, full of feathers, which had divers colors, came unto Lebanon and took the highest branch of the cedar.
Eagle came with long wings. He came unto Lebanon and he took the highest part of the cedar tree. Go ahead.
He cropped off the top of his young twigs.
Yes.
And carried it into a land of traffic.
The eagle did. The eagle chopped off top of the twigs of the cedar. And where did he take it? To a land of what?
Traffic.
What traffic mean? Business. He took it to a land of business. Eagle took him to the land of business. So now we need to find out what that land is, don't we? Well, what land did he take him to? What verse did you stop? That was verse what?
That's 4.
That was end of 4?
But the end says, he set it in a city of merchants.
I'm glad I didn't leave that part out. We have the city of traffic and the city of what?
Merchants.
Merchants. We're talking business. That's what the prophet said. This city is known for a city of business and mercantilism. All right, well, let's see exactly what the city is. Let's skip down to verse 11. Let's see if it's compliments Zechariah in Revelation.
Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying,
The word of the Lord came telling him this.
Say now to the rebellious house, know ye not what these things mean?
Y'all don't know what this riddle means? Go ahead and tell them, Ezekiel. Go ahead.
Tell them, behold, the king of Babylon is come to Jerusalem.
There your key. One of them. The king of Babylon is, guess what? That great eagle with the long wings. Where did he come to? Lebanon. The fields of Lebanon signified Jerusalem. Now let's see if we can identify those top cedar, the twigs on the top of the tree. So the king of Babylon came to Jerusalem. What did he do?
And have taken the king thereof.
And he have taken the heads of state, the tops of the cedar, top of the social pyramid. They the heads of state. They the tops of the cedar. And where he take them? Because if this is the king of who? Babylon. The king of Shinar. You see that? So we got a king of the earth right there, right? And we got this king of the earth that's about to travel where about? Tell me where you're going. Go ahead, brother.
And the princes thereof, and led them with him to Babylon.
You mean to tell me Babylon is the land of merchants and traffic? And who's overseeing the land of merchants and traffic? The king of Babylon. Who is he overseeing? The merchants who are waxing rich. Now you understand what John's saying in Revelation chapter 6. This is mystery Babylon. Who's in Babylon? Who's being transferred back and forth through the circuit of mercantilism? The ephod with the woman in it. And they're telling them land. She's the one that's going through hand and fist through all of the merchants throughout Babylon. And guess what? Through the corruption, guess what's happening? Boy, they making money and wealth. Is that what they doing today? You want to know where the whore at today? Go outside. Go look at the market. Check out Wall Street. Turn on the news. This is her resemblance throughout the entire earth. She's everywhere. And what do the merchants want to do? They want to open up a new market in desolate areas where there's just villagers. Move the villagers out. We're going to build a new city to tie into the market. And what's going to bring that city life? Mercantilism. It's going to bereave the people of land. It's going to bereave the people of food. It's going to bereave the people of shelter. But the kings of the earth and the merchants going to wax rich. That is the woman. This is where she is. And those who are waxing rich, they are intoxicated, just the resemblance of her. So you have poor people who's deceived and they want to drink of the cup of the whore, so they tearing down the walls of France. They tearing down the walls of Germany. They trying to tear down the walls and make it over here to the United States. They're intoxicated. They want to drink. Where the everlasting gospel at? Because at the same time, the everlasting gospel is being preached. I want to close with this one. Look at the sins of Israel. Hosea chapter 12. All of the kings of the earth drunk of the cup. Now let's watch Israel drink of the cup too. Hosea chapter 12. That's why people sit up here talking about, man, we need our own business, the black dollar to circulate. Oh, you mean establish the whore within our own societies? That's what you mean. They drunk. They drunk. That's why I can't get mad and talk about Black Wall Street. I said Black Wall Street was an abomination.
That's right.
A great abomination. Got what it deserved. You hear people say that now, you a Tom. You know, what you talking about Black Wall Street? That's the greatest thing ever. See what they do, black people could accomplish. Black Wall Street. It's an abomination. An abomination. That's why I'm talking about take a day off, spend black. Go, buy your black businesses and this and that. Buy black. Get the heck out of here. You the worst kind of oppressor. People, man, we ain't got no more black business. What the black businessman do? He rob all of the poor people in his area by selling products, stealing through the commodities, and then he take all of his wealth. And where he moved to? He moved with the rest of the rich folks and talk about how much he's a success. Trash. I don't even like seeing they grins. Russell Simmons, and they just aggravate me just the way they look. And then you got this coon who be on the radio, Steve Harvey. Their success. They drunk. And they're not on our side. Hosea chapter 12, verses 1 and 2.
Ephraim feedeth on wind and followeth after the east wind.
Now, first of all, you can't catch no wind. Trying to feed on the wind. That lets you know everything you grasp going right through your day. You almost had it, but it's just like you feeding on the wind. It just escaped. And while she feeding on the wind, she following after what way? East wind? Is that what it said? The east wind?
The east wind.
You know what she following after? Who's east of Ephraim? Babylon. That's where it is. That's where he chasing to. Trying to go ahead and partake in that mercantilism. Tyre had a big thing going on with that. Tyre was the cousin. Another empire that rose up with the practices of Babylon, but it all goes under the title of Babylon because Nimrod in ancient Babylon was the founder this side of the flood of this mercantilism and imperialism. So yeah, oh yeah, Ephraim boy, he chasing after that wind. Go ahead and read. East wind, he found that east wind too. Let's see what's happening. Go ahead.
He daily increaseth lies and desolation.
Daily. He's dealing in falsehood and creating desolation. Well, yeah, what's happening? Go ahead.
And they do make a covenant with the Assyrians.
Didn't I tell you who's going to Babylon? And they doing business deals. We're making a covenant, these contracts, these business contracts. Making a covenant with the Assyrians. What verse is that?
1.
Go ahead.
And oil is carried into Egypt.
You see what the business deals consist of? Commodities. That was one of the big commodities in Israel. It was wheat, it was oil, and wine. Read Ezekiel, the 27th chapter, and you will find out the commodities that Israel was bringing to the world market. That's why John gave the description in Revelation 18. It's pretty much a parallel to show you how the world market works. He's deriving it from Ezekiel and Isaiah. So he said he bringing oil down to the market, the commodity he's bringing down there, right? Go ahead.
The Lord hath also a controversy with Judah.
Yeah, he's doing business with the Babylonians, but I got a controversy. What's in the midst of the measure? Because you need the measure to trade the oil, don't you? You need the measure to trade. You need the measure. What is the resemblance of this woman in this talent of lead? She's in the business. They hands dirty. What else happens? He said, look, he said, the Lord has a controversy. What's happening?
And will punish Jacob according to his ways. According to his doings will he recompense him.
Just like he did on Black Wall Street. Let's skip down to verse 7. Why he upset out? Notice what his ways. Notice his ways. You see how the Bible is descriptive now. It's going to tell us his ways. What are his ways? Verse 7.
He is a merchant.
Lord have mercy. He done joined the merchants club. You see that? He's a merchant. He's dealing with that woman in that talent of lead, hand over fist. And God got a controversy with him because Israel is to bring forth a social revolution and an uprising. Ephraim should not be participating in this form of business. He should be overthrowing the merchants. Now, what's another name for merchant? Canaanites. He's turned into a Canaanite. The same people that were supposed to dispossess, they have picked up the policies, been drunken with the trade, and notice what's happening. He said, look at here. He said, man, he done wax rich. He done wax rich. He's a merchant. Balances of deceit are in his hand. And what else he say?
He loveth to oppress.
You see how the mercantilism and oppression works together? Why are the people being oppressed doing mercantilism? Because they're being robbed and stolen from. The talent of lead, the woman in the midst. How did Babylon the Great receive all her riches? Off of oppression. People look at the market, gold and silver and precious stones and timber. How do you think it came to the market? Workers working in the timber mines. Children and women digging down in the holes and getting gold. That all came from robbed and exploited labor. That's why I'm telling you what we're looking at today. If we want reparations, I'm saying our reparations is entire globe. The everlasting gospel is all of these oppressive societies who are patterned after Babylon must be crushed. Can't coexist. And that's what Brother and Elder Timothy was talking about today. Egypt and the social system and Israel uprising, they could not coexist. He had to move Israel out of the mainland, take them up to the extremities of the Egyptian territory to destroy them, and that will cut off the lifeline and also cause the demise of Egypt completely. So either they're going to conform to the new way or they perish. The best thing to do is to make an allegiance with that 12-tribe confederacy, wouldn't it? Then you can eat. Then you can have food, shelter, and clothing. If you make an allegiance with that 12-tribe confederacy, if you refuse to make an allegiance with that 12-tribe confederacy, your destiny is done. You're finished. So we say he loved to oppress, right? Isn't that what he argued? Verse 7. Verse 8 reads,
And Ephraim said, yet I am become rich. I have found me out substance.
I have put on scarlet color and purple, and I'm filled with gold. And what else he say?
In all my labors they shall find none iniquity in me.
He's
nor
a
sin.
You see that? See how drunk he is? You see how the Bible, verse 8 just told you how he is intoxicated. He don't even think he's doing nothing wrong. That's what happens when you're intoxicated. You're not even in your right mind. You do stupid stuff, act stupid. You don't have reason. And this is what he believed, that he haven't done anything wrong. He done wax rich. He's oppressing. He become a merchant. But yet he said, none iniquities in me. Here you have the description of Revelation, the mystery of Revelation chapter 17 right here in the book of Hosea. You got the mystery of Revelation chapter 17 right there in Zechariah 5. It's there. But you might not recognize that everybody telling you it's the Catholic Church. Let's do one more. Let's go on to Micah now. We're going to finish with Micah. 6 things he hates, 7 are abomination. Go ahead and talk about it. See, this must be taught if it's the truth. If it's the truth. I'm a human being. Maybe what I'm saying is wrong. But this is just what I've been convinced of. This was have convinced me. Micah chapter 6. Let's start reading at verse 9.
The Lord's voice crieth unto the city.
Yes.
And the man of wisdom shall see thy name. Hear ye the rod.
Wait. You said the Lord's voice cries unto the city? And the man of wisdom shall what?
See thy name.
I wanted to point that one out too for all of the people who operate off that doctrine of superstition. That doctrine of superstition, like a literal pronunciation of a name, does wonders. Like you got to say his name, Yeshua. You got to say Yehovah. Man, don't you know that come from the Greeks? That's the doctrine of names and superstition. That's why you see they different movies. You see they different movies, and all of their enchantments come from repeating names. Say such and such name. Incantations, repeating that. That's the superstition. But when you're looking at the Bible, he said, what the man of wisdom shall see God's name? How that happen? You see how the Bible puts stuff in there for us to think. How you see his name? By what we do.
You don't see what it represents.
Say it again.
You don't see what it represents.
You're going to see what it represents, what it produces. Judgment, justice, mercy, long suffering. Then he said, this is my name. I shall declare the name of Yah before you. Yeshua said, I manifested your name unto them you have given me. They can run around writing Yehovah down on a piece of paper, showing it to them. Man, these people, I tell you, that's why I can't get with them, man. If that's what they believe, and let's say they're right, I just don't believe it. I'll be fair. I could be wrong. I just don't believe their argument. That's all. He said, what? Man of righteousness shall see his name. Is that what he said? Go ahead, brother. Verse 9, I think.
Yeah. Hear ye the rod, and who hath appointed it? Are there yet the treasures of wickedness in the house of the wicked?
He said, are there yet what? In the house of the wicked? Treasures. Treasures of wickedness in the house of the wicked.
That's all right there.
Treasures of wickedness. Go ahead and read it.
And the scant measure that is abominable.
And the what?
Scant measure.
That woman in the talent of lead, the ephah. You see, she's appearing again in the prophet Micah. The scant measure, which is abominable. What verse you at?
11.
Go ahead.
Shall I count them pure with the wicked balance?
Should I count them pure who have taken on the identification of the whore, or that woman in the midst of the ephah with a talent of lead? Should I count them pure? Those who have taken on the pattern of Babylon? It is an abomination. It isn't pure. It's wicked balances. And what else he called it?
and with a bag of deceitful weight.
And a bag of deceitful weights. And what happened from the deceitful weights? Notice the next verse.
For the rich men thereof are full of violence.
Injustice is what the word violent mean. Injustice, oppressors. You see that? How do they get rich? How is it that they have these treasures? Through the imbalance of business. And then he's arguing, for the rich men thereof are full of violence or injustice. And what?
And the inhabitants thereof have spoken lies.
Yes, sir.
And their tongue is deceitful in their mouth.
And they have been made drunk themselves too. You see that? You see her again? Mystery. Babylon the Great. See how they got rich? Micah said they got rich. Hosea said they got rich. Ezekiel told you this is the city of merchants. So now John is bringing it all to a culmination. Mystery Babylon the Great. Look at the great city of riches and wealth of the kings of the earth and the merchants of the earth. But the contrast is the everlasting gospel is to go out in order for Babylon the Great to fall. Right? So these are just a couple of things I want to bring to the table. I'm not going to exhaust. There's other scriptures we can go to, but for now, because of the sake of time, we'll get ready to close out. But God willing, pray and think on these things.